All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is exciting right here. It is Tuesday, September 28th. It is 1:28 p.m. here in San Diego, California. For the last 2 months now,
I would
Connor
say
and
so.
Connor and I have been going live on Instagram, talking Loki, talking different movies every single week. We're excited to bring this to YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. We don't even have a name for this yet, Connor.
Not yet,
But happy to have you, bro.
we're a work in progress. But hey, important thing is it's you and me. We're talking movies. We're doing what we love. What's better than that? You know?
Who's got it better than
Who's
us?
got it better than us?
Nobody. Well, I think first things first here. The movie, Training Day.
The inaugural movie for YouTube.
This is really fucking exciting. So October 5th is the 20th year anniversary of the film. It is undeniably one of my 5 favorite films of all time. You know, I was thinking about this the other day. When I talk to movie people, I don't care about your 10 best movies of all time. I care about your 10 favorite movies of all time.
And there is a difference. I'm glad you brought that up because I was about to ask.
There is a huge difference between those two. And I think that the top 10 favorite movie list means a lot more than the top 10 best list. Connor, when was the first time you saw this movie? What were your expectations? And where does it kind of hold for you in that lore of movie history?
It's a great question. As far as like, that's the problem with like when we do these like anniversary type movies, because it's like impossible to remember the first time I saw Training Day. But I mean, it was definitely much later than when it first came out. I was 10. If it's the 20th anniversary, no, so I was 11 when this first came out. So it definitely wasn't then. There's no way my mom would have let me go to the theaters to watch Training Day. So probably, I don't know, probably sometime like when I was in college, which would have been like, 2008 to 2012. So somewhere around there. So I definitely saw it like 9 to 10 years after the fact. As far as like where it fits in my favorite movies, it's definitely top 5 Denzel movies. I'll give you that. Because that's another thing I was going to ask you about.
I mean, I fucking hope so.
Listen, the man has like one of the most legendary filmographies in Hollywood history. It's tough. As far as his roles go, I mean, he won the Oscar for it for good reason. I mean, he crushed it. Like he eats up every scene that he's in this movie. But yeah, as far as like his roles go, this is definitely top 5. And as far as like favorite movies, I don't know. Hard to say.
For me, this is GOAT Denzel. This is gold standard. This is him at his absolute best. This is, 2013 LeBron. This is 96 Michael Jordan. This is him at his absolute best. Something interesting about this role is like I was watching it, and the people that were in the room as I was watching it, they're talking about Clooney, they're talking about Pitt, they're talking about Leo. It takes a very, very skilled actor to pull off both incredibly lovable characters and people that you do not trust. And Denzel excels at both of them, maybe better than any other actor in the history of like filmmaking. He is incredible at being both very lovable, but also someone you're like, whoa, I don't know what this guy's about. I don't trust him. Training Day is the perfect example for that. Yeah, I mean, this is like my dad's favorite Denzel movie. This is something we joke about all the time. That's like
fair.
Constantly quoting it. I think this might be my most quoted movie of all time.
I mean, it's one of those things that I almost like same thing with like The Wire and The Sopranos as far as like TV goes. Like it's definitely one of those like movies and pieces of content that has like been its longevity has like increased tenfold thanks to social media, because it's like so much of this movie has become like memes, and then it got like parodied on Chappelle's Show like a few years after it came out with like the Wayne Brady thing. So it's like the longevity of this movie just keeps going, and now it's when your leads are two of the best actors like either currently going or just like of all time. I mean, how can you go wrong? I mean, Ethan Hawke, Denzel, come on.
So the movie, actually, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save it for a little bit later on. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think we can move on into the actual film itself. We'll go kind of scene by scene real quickly, run through it. We have our best 137 seconds of the film. This is 1:37 p.m.
As always.
Only makes sense. We have our next Instagram caption selected from each film that we do. And this one is like almost so fucking easy that it's hard because the options, like there are 35 you could pick from in this
I'm surprised
movie.
you say that it's easy then.
It's almost so easy that it's difficult. Like I think a lot of movies
okay.
you're like, yo, how could I turn this into an Instagram caption? And
Right.
Training Day is like, I don't know. It's too much. And then lastly, you have to NFT something from the film. This one's tricky for that segment. I don't know yet.
It is.
I'm gonna let my gut take over kind of in the moment.
Let that marinate for a little bit.
Yeah.
We got a little time. Let that marinate.
So the movie starts off, we get to see Ethan Hawke at home. You see the wife, you see the child, wakes up early. He's clearly nervous. He's talking about football tryouts. He's like, yo, it's the day of the tryouts. I just want to get this over with. I just want it to be tomorrow. The wife gets the call. I love the small detail of Denzel flirting with the wife over the phone
God.
and
just
making her giggle.
And it just goes like, it's just something that plays out throughout the movie. Just like those little bits of power he has over, not just like on like above his like gang of like his like corrupt cops and like over like the gang members he interacts with, just like everyday people. It's like that wit and that charm kind of thing that just keeps flashing back every now and again. I mean, it's great. It's great. It's just like a tiny little detail. It's amazing, like you said.
He by the end of this thing, you realize, he's a massive villain or whatever. Not many villains, though, can charm the pants off of your very sweet, innocent wife who just had a kid. That's not an easy thing to do. So, and this is like one of those few characters that are able to do it. And then immediately right away, we get the diner scene. And we actually talked about this diner last week because we were talking about Seven. This diner's used in Seven. The diner's used in Old School. The diner's used in a few other projects. I don't know, man. For me, I think of this diner, Training Day, no question about it.
It's fair. I mean, it's one of those like, I'm guessing famous interior LA diners that just gets reused all the time. It's got to be like a claim to fame for that diner. They must have just like an entire wall of things that have been filmed inside that diner. Like, I don't know if it is that one, but Knocked Up, when Seth Rogen's having like the like brunch with Katherine Heigl's character the night after they hook up, it looks remarkably similar to that too. Like it could.
I mean, look again.
Yeah, it's crazy.
One thing I really love from Ethan Hawke's character throughout this is the total the former high school football stud vibes that I get from him. Like he's the guy. He had, the pretty girl that would go with him to prom. He was the stud on the football field. He was the nice kid. He was the captain. He was the kid who looked out for the bully. Like this isn't the cool kid. This is like, yo, that guy's awesome.
That
like,
dude's the man.
He's not, the Fonz, or he's not like, smoking a cig, I'm thinking, in a black leather jacket. No, this guy fucking rules. He's loved by everyone. And I get that impression like immediately, including in this diner scene.
And it goes to, that plays out the scene with they first meet Roger. It's like, what's your last name? You're from North Hollywood? It's like strong safety. He's like, how did you know that? He's like, I keep track of all, like, what is it? I keep track of all the best players. And then Denzel walks out. He's like, strong safety, huh? Like, dude, amazing.
That is one of my favorite.
Amazing.
Strong safety, huh?
Strong safety, huh?
I got it.
Amazing.
I got it written down in here.
So
that's fucking incredible. One thing I think separates Denzel from like, A-list stud to Denzel GOAT level Mount Rushmore figure in Hollywood. His timing in some of these lines, bro, like, you could say it's how he says it. You could say, the lines that are written for him. You could say the facial expressions that he says it with. The thing that stands out above all to me, the timing. He waits for Ethan Hawke to finish that sentence. And the moment he finishes the sentence, boom, claps back right fucking
He's jumping right down his throat. Like he doesn't give him a second to breathe, which almost like, I would never compare it to movies like Good Time or like Uncut Gems, which are like for like 2 hours, it's like one long anxiety, like inducing like heart attack of a movie. But like those like little things like that, where someone's like constantly like jumping down your throat about every little thing that you do, including like when Ethan Hawke's character is trying to tell like he thinks this story, it's in the diners, he thinks this story is so cool about like him like tracking down like it's like, oh man, we had this like crazy drug bust just because we thought. And then Denzel is like, that's your coolest story? It's like you pulled over a drunk driver or like an impaired driver and just happened to get like this massive drug bust. That's your coolest story. And it just completely blows you out of the water because you think it's a crazy story. And then obviously in Denzel's world, couldn't be further from crazy.
It's Denzel though also feeds into it in the sense that like he's telling like, whoa, a DUI stop, like, whoa, no shit, two shotguns, no way. And he's just feeding into it. And then at the end of it, shuts it completely all down.
Yep.
This scene also got a second life, I feel like, in the last few years. Twitter obviously represents the modern day newspaper, and plenty of people will use the 90% bullshit quote when talking about Twitter, and it fits fucking perfect.
Guilty.
Bro.
This is a newspaper, right? It's 90% bullshit, but it's entertaining. That's why I read it, because it entertains me. You won't let me read it, so you entertain me with your bullshit.
As an avid, person, as a person who tweets like 30,000 times a day, that little clip is so versatile for that entire platform. It's just perfect,
After the diner scene, this is fuck. How many times am I going to say that this might be my favorite line of the movie? Can we have a counter? Can we have a tracker in like one of the corners?
Just like, and it dings every time you talk about it.
Not sure if you caught it. He tells Ethan Hawke, grab that menu off the windshield as they go into the car. They use that menu later on as the warrant. You in the office, baby. It's the coldest shit I've ever fucking heard.
I mean,
so where's the office? Back at Division?
You in the office, baby. Going up.
For real. And I can't, as like what he keeps saying like throughout the movie, it's just like, you want to go back, cut parking tickets, or like after the shootout when they pull over and he's like, you got to decide whether or not you want to be like one of the wolves or you can help that guy out, and it's just like the highway cop like helping change tires, like it's just next level.
Still Dre, still ages incredibly well. I mean, the song just bumps across like for 20 years now. This song has just absolutely slapped. Dr. Dre's in my top 5.
And we'll get to it, but Dr. Dre says as one of the corrupt cops on Denzel's team has one of my favorite lines in the movie too. And I'm sure you know exactly which one I'm talking about. But we'll get to that.
They do the marijuana stop in the hills of what looks like a like Latino neighborhood, and it's the college kids, the white boys and the girl in back. They do the marijuana stop, and like the first time you watch it, you're like, yo, what the fuck? It's just marijuana, like let it go. He gets pulled the gun mid daylight. He's like, yo, if you were to shut that shit down in the streets, like you'd be dead right now. Wet, butt naked.
I didn't know you like to get wet.
Dust.
And that's perfect because that's literally the scene that Chappelle parodies in that sketch, and it's one of the best sketches in Chappelle Show history. And it's like it's almost unfortunate because now I can't think of this scene because the scene's so great, but I can't think of this scene without thinking of the Wayne Brady sketch from Chappelle Show.
The amount of times I've said, didn't know you like to get wet though.
Yeah.
In my life, like it's just unbelievable how many times I've quoted this goddamn movie over the course of my life. He's fucked up on the PCP. Shit turns green. He's all sauced up. But they do go to Roger's house right after this. Great line from Denzel. Trying to get my swerve on. Trying to get my swerve on. Jesus, Lonzo, he's high as a motherfucker.
Oh my God. And there's I mean,
Do
Ethan
you
Hawke
trust
will be
Roger?
too. What's
Do you
up?
trust Roger?
Not even a little bit. Anyone that Denzel's character pretty much interacts with or has like some connection to, you can't trust in this movie, except for maybe the guys that the gang members at the end that help Ethan Hawke's character escape.
We get the North Hollywood High, strong safety, huh? Okay, here's a great question. I've seen this movie 30 freaking times in my life. I don't get the snail joke.
Oh, me neither. I don't get it either.
Is it bullshit?
But
Is
I think
it
that's
like
the
meant
point.
to? Okay.
I think it's the point is to make you and Ethan Hawke's character Jake feel dumb and feel like we're not one of the cool kids, quote unquote. Like it's like you're the outsider. You're supposed to feel like that, and that's the point of it. You know,
You're maybe missing like the language of the streets, the lingo. You don't have this understanding. Then you're second guessing everything. I can get behind that. Jake is still high. They're driving through the streets and they come across the girl who's being raped by the two homeless people or the crack addicts. Jake would have made a hell of a prospect in MMA. I mean, I gotta say, man, like this is a guy who he's got everything right there. You know, hard worker, well-intended. You know, willing to get physical. In terms of an MMA career, Jake's
kicks their asses.
Highly touted prospect.
Kicks the shit out of them, you know? And then Denzel has, another great, amazing Denzel scene. Like, it's like anything cool Ethan Hawke does in the movie is immediately like one-upped by something that Denzel does.
You got mad squabbles, boy. Denzel is doing mental laps around these two crack addicts as he's working through this. And Denzel is so calm. He's so in control the whole time that even in his moments of uncertainty, it is on purpose. Uh-huh. He's keeping Jake on his toes as if he doesn't have control of the situation. Denzel knows exactly how this is all going to play out. He knows what the fuck to do with these crack addicts. He knows that the Hillside Trece gang is going to mess with these guys way worse than any criminal justice system ever would.
Right.
He knows.
He's the wolf.
Knows the whole time.
He's the wolf, He's like, and this is still kind of like the portion of the movie that you still kind of feel it's like, okay, so he's like really close to breaking the rules, but like, he's not fully there yet. He's just like been one of those, like, you kind of feel like he's just one of those guys that has seen so much stuff on the streets and dealing with like drug gangs and stuff. That's like, this is just how he treats reality. And you're not quite at that point where it's like, oh wait, no, he's actually just like, he's just a gangster with a badge, essentially. It's like, that's it.
It's this 90 seconds where he talks about like, I'll let them run a train on your girlfriend. He's talking about which nut do you want gone. He brings out the knife and he's pointing it at the eyeball. I don't know when he's going to stop. Like, maybe I don't believe the knife. You know what I mean? Maybe at first I don't believe that he's going to like actually cut his face. But if you start with the knife and then you drop to gun pointed at nuts, I'm like, oh shit. Oh, is he for real now?
Like, what's going to happen here? And that's any scene where he's being intimidating. It's like, there's like the couple scenes where he points the gun at Jake, at Ethan Hawke's character. And he's not going to pull the trigger at that point. But still, somehow in the back of your head, you're just kind of like, he might do this. Like, he might actually like pull the trigger.
Yeah, there's definitely part of me that thinks he was going to pull the trigger at the nuts. I totally believe that he was going to go for a nut shot. Mm-hmm. He ends up doesn't shoot him though. Damn, I'm thirsty. I want a beer. Like, where does that come from? Who is that? David Ayer writing that? Is that Fuqua directing, telling Denzel, like, yo, just go be you. Like, this is you, dog. Like, go get your 30 shots up. Like, see what you can do out on the floor. Or is this just Denzel, like, yo, I'm running this show right now. You guys can cut when I tell you to cut.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he knows that he improv'd, like, one of the most famous lines of the movie. He improv'd, like, the King Kong line at the end of the movie. So it wouldn't shock me if that was completely, like, obviously what the next scene's going to be. but like how like they got to that point, how the transition happens, that wouldn't shock me in the least bit if that was, you know, completely off the cuff from Denzel.
True or false? It takes a wolf to catch a wolf.
I feel like the answer that any like good person is gonna say is false. In this movie, you got to think that Denzel's right. That in this world that they live in, every single gang they interact with and criminals, I mean, it's like it goes to a point where, you know, like I was saying before, it's like Denzel is a full-on corrupt character. He's a gangster. Like that's what he is. But like if Ethan Hawke got to that point and was still like, you know, a believer in the badge and wasn't actually a gangster like Denzel was, is he going to be like bending the rules, breaking the rules to do so? I don't know.
I'm not like a huge politics guy, but if you look at the big picture of Training Day, this is a movie about police brutality, the power of the police, you know, what are they able to do? I think, though, the movie does show why police are scared or why Denzel thinks he needs to be a wolf to catch this wolf. I think it has you tug on both sides. Like, yo, why is he so corrupt? At the same time, yo, at times he does take care of people that really need help.
Right. And it's not so much police brutality as it is like the extent of, you know, like where do you draw the line in terms of like civil liberties and things like that? Like faking the warrant, buying the warrant from the three wise men and like all that sort of stuff. Like where does the line end on like the greater good sort of thing? Like the road to hell is paved with good intentions type of thing. Like, you know, he might have the best of intentions at heart and he might just think that, you know, I'm going to do this, but I mean, I'm going to make the money on the side, but I have to get my hands dirty to do so.
But to get that warrant to pay off a debt to the Russian mob, what did he do to lose that money? Because if that's dirty money, then what he's doing is fucking awful. You only pay for the warrant if you're like, yo, we almost got this guy. Like, I'm telling you, with like 40 grand, like this takes us over the top. We got him. He's all ours. That's different than, oh, I fucked up in Vegas over the weekend. I kind of pissed off a couple of Russian mobsters. I may have shot one of them. He ended up being a somebody. Now I'm fucked. I gotta pay them back. That's different. Those are two different reasons or two different uses of the warrant.
Correct.
I think it does have you tug on both sides, which is one of the reasons I like this movie. I guess that was the point I kind of wanted to put out there. We head into the jungle. We head into some of the gang neighborhoods. I don't know if you read this. The gang liaison to the movie hired real thugs. So all the thugs you see on the sides of the street, those are actual parts of like super rough gang neighborhoods in LA. Those are real thugs. Those are real gangsters.
Except for Terry Crews.
So except for Terry Crews.
Terry Crews. One of his earliest roles I remember, even though he doesn't say a word, you know.
But the people in the lowriders, the people on the roofs, the people in front of their houses, those are all real, like, you know, gang members. Am I tripping, or can you feel that through the movie?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like they're walking, you know, towards the end when they're walking into the house with what's the name of the Hispanic gang?
Hillside Trece.
When they're walking into the house and they're all like rubbing up against, not brushing up against Denzel, but brushing up against, like, you know, Ethan Hawke's character, you can feel that. That feels authentic. And same thing when they're walking through to go to Denzel's wife, Eva Mendez's house to see his son and, you know, check in, so to speak. You can feel that. Like, that feels authentic.
This is like one of those movies. It's almost like, Jesus, I can't believe these words are going to come out of my mouth. It's a little bit like Rush Hour in the sense that, like, it's so racist that I don't know if it's racist. Like, there's so much diversity in this movie. There is so much, quote unquote, name calling, racial slurs, whatever you want to say. They're just giving you what reality is. They're not going to like sugarcoat this shit. They're not going to say like, oh, like, you know, I don't know, all the stupid stereotypes that they're going to do. They're giving you what it is. I think it's pretty dope.
Yeah, no, I mean, in a movie like this, it's you can't fake it. I feel like you'd be able to tell, like you'd be able to kind of get the vibe that this was, inauthentic, and it would feel phony if they didn't go to that extra level to do this.
Moving along, I want to see that goddamn warrant. Macy
By
Gray.
the way, Macy Gray, she might be one of my favorite performances in the movie. Just because it's so good. She's got like the long fingernails. She's smoking the cigarette. She's like, I want to see that goddamn warrant. I love it. I love every second of that scene. Like, it's so good. And then when she finds out that it's like just the Chinese menu and she's running on the lawn and all the gang members like come out to start shooting at him, it's just like, it's an amazing scene.
Do you remember what triggers her to get suspicious?
No.
She says, "You guys smell like liquor. You guys are liquored up to do this job."
Yes, that's right.
They had just done drinks at Rogers, and they had just had a couple beers in the car.
You're a rookie, and she picks Ethan Hawke's out. She picks Jake out like in a second. You're a rookie.
And of course, the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, "Oh man, if that was Conor, if that was me, like we'd be shaking our motherfucking boots, like."
Or like the poker scene at the end. It's like, how long you been a pig? Oh, sorry. How long you been a police officer? Like, they can tell. And it just goes like, and I know like those are actors, but like, and shout out, we're both big Fast and Furious guys. Hector. and did you see Hobbs and Shaw?
Yes.
That Smiley plays The Rock's brother in Hobbs and Shaw when they go to like Samoa and they're like fixing. He like leads the garage.
You got me.
And for Breaking Bad fans out there, Tuco Salamanca. Amazing. Like, it's
Salamanca.
Just like you just start plucking them all out. Amazing.
This movie, for whatever reason, was like way ahead of its time in terms of like the actors used. Like, I mean, there are huge names in this, and especially looking back 20 years later now, both the movie holds up, the content of the movie holds up, and the star power of the movie holds up. I feel like that's pretty rare to have 20 years later.
100%. I mean, this is one of those movies where like the secondary character, like Ethan Hawke's character Jake, could have been played by like an actor, and you like this is the only thing he's known for. But it's like, oh wait, Ethan Hawke is actually like one of the best actors working today. So he's gonna stick around and be like, crushing movies ever since, Granted, Ethan Hawke was in it, he had been in, this isn't like one of those like first movie type things, like kind of like similar to Brad Pitt with Seven. Like, that wasn't his first role, but he had done a few things before then. Like, Ethan Hawke had done a few things before this, but he comes back and he's still, obviously Denzel is Denzel. He'd been basically in a ton of movies in the 90s. So like this was like his show, but Ethan Hawke was definitely, involved a ton.
You're so fucking right. And I don't know if I ever put that together. No, I'm serious, bro. Like, I'm serious. You're so fucking right on this. This is absolutely a role where Ethan Hawke's character could be forgotten about completely. It's a great performance by Ethan Hawke.
100%.
Jake is a great character. I see the scenario, or I see the world that you're talking about, where this is a person that fades off into, like no notoriety or whatever it is.
Right.
I guess now that we are discussing it, would this movie be better with Matt Damon in it?
No. I just don't think, I mean, because Matt Damon's obviously, he did The Departed, so he knows like cop movies, and he knows like obviously being the corrupt cop, but this just is such like a different sort of like vibe to it. Was he considered for the role, or I just don't see it. I don't know if it's better. I don't have any doubt that Matt Damon probably could have done the movie and it would have been fine. I just don't think it would have been as memorable of a role as Ethan Hawke was able to kind of pull out of it, type of thing.
I'll look through a little bit and see if I can find anything on whether or not he was considered. I think there were a few different people considered.
Yeah,
the one thing
sure.
I think Matt Damon lacks is the high school football stud vibes that I get from Ethan Hawke.
That's not a bad point.
I I think that's where it misses out. There's like an edge or grit almost.
That's what it is. Because like you got to remember, at this point in Matt Damon's career, he's coming off of Good Will Hunting.
Yep.
He's coming off
Pretty
of Saving
Boy.
Private Ryan, which is like that Saving Private Ryan. He's got like the baby face in that. Like he's just like he doesn't have like that sort of like look to him, you know, that it would have like been as effective.
Another great line. I've honestly already got it on my Instagram captions list. I don't know when I'm going to use it. All that jelly, no toast.
No toast.
Bro, for real, you know, people talk about like the Instagram world and they're like, oh, they're all flash and, you know, they just look good on the gram. That is today's version of all that jelly and no toast. Like, you know, oh, he's got a sick car on Instagram, but like in reality, like, you know, blank face, nothing there, no fun, or like, you know, a girl who's beautiful on the outside or whatever, but you can't hold the conversation.
It's the influencers going to take the pictures in like that fake private jet.
Bingo.
That's what it is. That's what it is. That's
all that jelly and no toast. That might be my choice, by the way. That might be my choice. On God, bro. I think that is such a slept on little line. We get Eva Mendes appearance, another star who like 20 years later, you're like, holy shit, this movie is goddamn loaded.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Another connection to Fast and Furious. They keep popping up.
Well, David Ayer,
right,
wrote Fast and Furious 1.
No, you're lying. He wrote Fast and Furious 1?
Wrote Fast and Furious 1.
How did I just learn that? You just blew my mind. I literally had no idea he wrote Fast and Furious 1, but it fits now. I mean, because it's not as over the top as the latest entries in the franchise, but definitely it fits now that I know that.
If you watch Fast and Furious 1, Training Day, End of Watch, they're three, they all share the same vibe. They share super similar vibes. Like
Training Day and End of Watch being a lot more intense than the Fast and Furious. By the way, End of Watch, talk about a movie that's completely slept on. Like, it just doesn't get talked about enough for being as good as it is.
I don't know if it's like I fucking love Gyllenhaal and Pena. Love them, right?
They're a great duo in that movie.
But I don't know if they hit like mainstream audiences like that. Like what we're talking about. Like as good as End of Watch is, it could hit like a mainstream type feel. And I just don't know if for whatever reason, Gyllenhaal with the shaved head or like Pena, I don't know if Mom Susie down the street is gonna be interested in a police movie with like Gyllenhaal and Pena.
Not to mention that Gyllenhaal, he doesn't have like he's not like the like sex symbol, like super handsome guy in that movie. Like the shaved head, the no beard. Like if you were to look at it, like he doesn't have that vibe to him, which wouldn't obviously have fit that character at all.
So Denzel's just a baby daddy, right? He's got like 4 girls.
Four sons. 4 sons.
Yep.
Remember, it's like 4 sons. I got too many. You want one?
I think he says I can't miss.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Because that's when that is another like kind of low key moment where it's like Ethan Hawke. You can definitely tell throughout the early parts of the movie is uncomfortable, like with the stuff that Denzel's saying, but when Denzel brings up his wife, he's like, let's not talk about my life. Let's not talk about my family. Like he sticks up with him like immediately. It's not something he just like lets go and like lets slide. So
Denzel's also right though. Denzel's also right. You got to leave that shit at home.
Gotta leave that shit at home.
And he's fucking right about it. And that probably could be the biggest lesson. I would also say, you know, he says like, learn that shit. He's talking about Spanish.
Right.
So, like,
oh yeah.
Throughout the movie,
he's going to save your life.
He's dropping gems about like survival in the streets here. So as evil of a character as he is, because
he's trying, you gotta remember, he's trying to make Ethan Hawke's character into like another member of his crew. Like, you know, there's obviously we'll get to it where it's like parts of Denzel's crew, like they flat out just want to kill him. And he's like, no, we're not going to do that. Like, you know, he's one of us type of thing.
He's got the magic eye.
Got the magic eye.
Moving on. So they go to Rogers. They take the or no, the three wise men, and then they go to Rogers afterwards. But the peanut butter story is weird. I think the studio wanted the three wise men scene cut, but from my understanding is that Fuqua wanted it in because it shows that there were people above Denzel's person approving of some of the action. So this isn't just a rogue cop. This is a corrupt system that's in place, not just one person.
Correct. And absolutely. Because it also, because he just shows that, outside of this movie, Alonzo, Denzel's character, is just one cog in this machine. He's not the king of like this underworld stuff, like not the king of the corrupt cops. But he still reports to someone. He reports to the three wise men, and they get him the warrant that he needs. And what does he say as they walk out? He's just like, nothing's free in this world, Jake. Not even arrest warrants. And he like takes out, he's got like the stack of like 40 grand that he puts in the trunk. Like, incredible.
Always a bigger fish,
It's always a bigger fish.
And there's always someone who let the pit bull off the leash. Like in, Dark Knight, Harvey's looking around. He's like, no, I want to know who let the Joker off the leash. Like there's always someone above who knew that this shit was going to go down. Very applicable here. They go to Rogers. They take $1 million out of the $4 million that he's going to tax him on. He clocks Dr. Dre. Dude, that is a fucking blow.
When they meet up with Dr. Dre roof. And like they're on the roof and stuff like that, it's like, where'd you find this guy? He's like coming from the valley or something like that. He's like, you were a long way from Starbucks, homie. I love it. Like Dr. Dre, not a very good actor, and that's fine. He's in the movie, he's doing his thing, whatever. But the way he delivers that line gets me every time. You're a long way from Starbucks, homie.
The braids are impeccable on Dre in this movie.
He's got the vest on, like he's ready to go.
There is not a single strain of hair that is out of place in the cornrows. Beautiful, beautiful work. Okay, moving on. Smiley Hector. Is it Willie? Is the last one Willie? What? Smiley Hector?
I forget. Because he's like, I forget because he's like the goon type of guy. Like when he thinks he wins the poker game, and he's like, what is he like a straight or a flush beats 2 pair, or 3 of a kind beats 2 pair. You fucking truck. You fucking truck. Like that's amazing. Like obviously, great scene.
You ever have your shit pushed in, bro?
Oh, I have my shit pushed in. Big time.
Big time, bro.
You know I'm always getting love from the homies.
Bro,
talk about just like
scaring the shit out of me.
And it's set up perfectly. That's obviously also like a great scene because you don't see Denzel leave.
Go hit the head.
That is such like a great thing that I know not Ayer, Fuqua decided to do is not show Denzel like sneak out of the house and then he's just gone. And and then you figure it out, okay, now you understand where this is gonna go. You understand why they're here.
The bathroom scene is good. They got the gun, and I think I don't think Jake is scared. Like I do think he's scared. That's not my takeaway though. My takeaway is that when he leaves Hillside Trece, he's fucking exhausted. I get more of a tired feel that like he's been through so much throughout the day. I don't get, I was almost just shot vibes. I get, I'm fucking wiped. Like this is it. Like I'm losing it. That's the vibe I get from him as he's leaving Hillside Trece.
Do you think, so I have heard some people voice like that it feels incredibly convenient that the girl that Ethan Hawke's character prevents from being, assaulted, like raped by the two drug addicts. It just happens to be Smiley's cousin. It just I understand, like, you sometimes you got to make that leap because it's a movie, but I've heard some people say that. I'm curious to see like what you thought about that.
I think it's way more accurate if they say, yo, that's Luis's cousin. I think you could totally get away with it if it's not one of those three's cousins.
Right.
I think like it's too convenient having it be one of them three. But if you said, yo, Smiley, go get Luis, bring him up here right fucking now. Like, go get Luis right now. You bring in one other actor and be like, yeah, that's my cousin.
That's her.
And
yeah.
then you call her and figure it out.
Right.
It's an extra 10 seconds that makes it slightly more believable. I don't know if it like stops me in my place as I'm watching the movie.
Yeah.
It's a little bullshit. I hear what you're saying.
And it doesn't really bother me. I've just heard people say it because it's definitely a case of just movie logic. Like this is just, something that has to happen to advance the plot so to make sure that Ethan Hawke's character makes it through this scene alive type of thing. Also, I just love that it completely shuts them down too. It's like, got to remember this is just business. It's like, it's not nothing personal. And Ethan Hawke doesn't respond and Smiley's just like, right. Gets him gets back on it. Just so good.
For whatever reason, and I don't know if I got it as much as I was watching it last night. I always thought Jake understood what Hillside Trece was going through. I always thought like Jake was like, yeah, I know that this is Denzel's bullshit. Like this is Lonzo's bullshit, not your guys's. Like, let me leave. Last night, I didn't get as much of that vibe as I was watching, but I know exactly what moment you're talking about.
Right.
Jake heads to the jungle. Movie from the next, 7-8 minutes is just fucking nonstop. This movie's nonstop for the next 8 minutes.
Your heart's beating a mile a minute.
Ethan Hawke made the connection with the kid earlier. The kid lets him through the door. He tells the kid to hide. You just feel bad for the kid, man. That was one takeaway for sure. I'm watching this movie and like, this kid just has no business being in Lonzo's house.
Yeah. By the way, I mean, is this ever said that is his house, Alonzo's house? Or that's just where
it's his girl's place,
right? By the way, he makes a ton of money. He's probably got a nice. Get this woman out of there. It's a pretty rough neighborhood. That's your son.
Excuse me, he's got 4 of them. What are
that
you?
Is true.
That's one of his 4 that's one of his 5 places, bro. He's probably got his own spot. He's probably got spots for his other 3 baby mamas.
Yep. I mean, come on, man. Like, help her out. It's a pretty rough neighborhood that she's living in right now.
Oh, I think that's on purpose.
Oh, 100, yeah, for sure.
It gives Lonzo a reason to come back to the jungle every single day and check in. I'm checking on my son.
And those guys, they never give off the impression that they would ever like hurt her, even out of like a fear of Denzel or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like you never get that impression or vibe from them at all.
Love Denzel's Spanish in this movie. Underrated. Denzel's Spanish is really, really good in this movie. Another potential Instagram caption. I'm surgical with this bitch dick. How you want it, dog?
Oh, I love where has my little Jake gone? And then he spots him in like the picture frame. Incredible. And it's such like a great thing because it also goes to Denzel's completely in control of that scene. Like he's like, here, put all your guns in the pillowcase, hand over like the money and stuff like that. But he has the shotgun underneath the bed. Like he's never not in control, even when he's got a gun pointed at him.
Also, he's prepared for moments like this.
Yep.
The bed under the shotgun under the bed. So prepared. He's ready for this moment the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a question.
I would imagine that this is probably something similar to wherever Denzel, posts up at the end of every day. He's ready for any situation. He's ready for anything coming. Whenever, ready for whatever. And this is just like this is probably something he was anticipating throughout the day. He was always ready for it. He got it from the beginning when he made Jake smoke the weed, smoke the PCP. He's like, you got PCP in their bloodstream. It's not what you know. It's what you can prove. He's like, who are your witnesses? He's ready. He's completely outboxed him from start to finish.
What does Detective Lonzo Harris look like in 2021? Right? Like, obviously, he can't do what he does. He'd be caught on a phone doing some bullshit. But I still think he's a savage motherfucker today. I don't know what that looks like nowadays. But I was curious, back in the day, if there was a phone there, like, dude, him just blasting up the neighborhood, shooting like in the middle of broad daylight. That would would never get away with that shit nowadays.
Not a chance. I mean,
so I don't know what a slimy motherfucker like him would do nowadays, but I was thinking about it like, what's the Lonzo Harris?
This is definitely like one of those things that it's like when you watch like a show or a movie in the 90s where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how many of these plots would be either simplified or completely, solved by just someone having a cell phone? Like,
Outside of that, though, the movie still holds up. I think, there's nothing else really to it that is outdated
right.
with today's generation.
No, yeah, it's just like that. Yeah, the shootout that they get into, and Macy Gray's character could literally just be like, "I'm going to record you the entire time you're in here." Oh wait, this is a fake warrant. Like,
yep.
And then they would get busted immediately because
it's
Ethan
open
Hawke,
season on misconduct.
It's open season on misconduct, and they would get knocked down in
At this point, we get the climax of the movie, player to player, pimp to pimp. All you motherfuckers.
I know you're not going to shoot me in the back. And he shoots him in the ass.
Oh, son of a bitch!
You shot me in the ass.
And he says it with the lisp.
And then he immediately switches because he realizes, oh wait, now this is when I've completely lost control of the situation. Because now that he knows that Jake is like, okay, so maybe I pushed this guy a little too far.
Desperation through the roof. He is on his hands and knees now begging Jake. He was so cocky that he was in control of everything. He got blindsided by, Jake here in the situation.
Right.
This is probably one of my top 5 favorite closing scenes in cinema history. This is Denzel at his peak. I don't even know what to say, bro. Like, what am I supposed to say that hasn't already been said about this final Denzel King Kong speech? Everyone, it's quoted a million times a day. People post it on Twitter. They post it on YouTube. You rewatch the scene. You're flipping through channels. You don't stop. This is the Denzel Washington scene. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, that's right. You better walk away. Go on, walk away, because I'm going to burn this motherfucker down. King Kong ain't got shit on me.
You'll be playing basketball in Pelican Bay. 23-hour lockdown. Like,
shoot program.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm the man up in this piece. You'll never see the light of day. Who the fuck you think you're fucking with?
I run shit here. You just live here. From start to finish. And then obviously, and then by the end, when everything comes to. Also, obviously everything plays out there. Ethan Hawke and Jake, he leaves with all the evidence. He's ready to go to turn in, to basically turn over everything about Denzel's character. And I just love how the movie ends with Ethan Hawke walking into his house, and then the radio, an LAPD narcotics officer was killed today, and he's survived by his wife and 4 children. And that's exactly what he said, when he's like trying to like knock Ethan Hawke back on his ass, and an LAPD narcotics officer was killed serving a high-risk warrant, survived by his wife and infant child. Like, it's perfect.
Question, Connor, how do you interpret this? What does Jake do next? Jake wakes up the next day. Does he go into narcotics? Does he go back to being a police officer? Does he get moved to detective for solving this terrible murder? Does he get fucking offed because, people above Denzel are pissed that they're going to get come at? What happens to Jake next?
I think based on like what we know now, I think he goes and turns in the evidence, because I think all the evidence that's there, it doesn't really connect to anyone besides like Denzel and his crew. Like,
except for the warrant, which Jake was there for.
True. So would he move to take down the 3 wise men too?
Would the 3 wise men move to take down Jake, knowing that he knows?
Right. I think they would threaten him, and now that Denzel's dead, that they would be like, okay, so we had no connection to this. Otherwise your career's over. They might not threaten his life, but they might just be like, okay, you've only been on the job for 18 months, 2 years. We're 3 of the most decorated, veterans in the LAPD. Your career's over if you try to expose us, type of thing.
Would you see Ethan Hawke starring in Training Day 2? Now at age 45, 50, whatever he might be, he's aged, a little weary, he's tired of the streets. Would you do it?
Would I watch the movie, or would I be happy? I mean, I'm sure I'd watch it, but it's one of those movies that is so perfectly self-contained that it's like, I remember when I was looking up some stuff before, I completely forgot they tried to make a TV show out of this. Like they tried to just make, and it was like reversed. Like it was like Bill Paxton, I think, was like the rogue cop, and it was just like, this is not what the movie is kind of about, like at all. And it kind of like, I don't know if they were trying to even play in the same universe or just kind of use the same themes, but it was such an odd thing to have happen.
A prequel is in development about young Lonzo Harris.
Okay.
For Warner Brothers, so a full motion picture. Let's get into
that I can get more on board with, I feel like.
Okay. Antoine Fuqua does Training Day, Tears of the Sun, King Arthur, Shooter, Olympus Has Fallen, Equalizer, Southpaw, Magnificent Seven, Equalizer. He has a movie coming out called Emancipation that is getting a lot of hype. I don't know much about it. I think it's a slavery movie, but it's getting a lot of buzz. This feels a little bit, and like he's good. Like Southpaw's good. Equalizer's good. They're fine. Nothing will ever hit what Training Day hit. And I don't know if that's a bummer for him. I don't know like how you feel about that, knowing like, yo, I made a masterpiece. I'll never be able to do that again. It's just interesting, I guess. That's all.
It's hard. I mean, it's like not every director is going to be a Scorsese or a Spielberg, where they have it, even not even so much no, but like where they're going to have these like multiple massive critical and commercial successes. Like, and maybe Fuqua's okay with that. Maybe he's like he's fine having like this be his like one super award recognized type of flick. Yeah, maybe he's okay with that. Who knows? You know.
The year 2001. David Ayer writes both Training Day and The Fast and the Furious.
Damn. That's a hell of a year for him.
Damn.
That's a hell of a year for him.
That's incredible. He later goes on to do End of Watch, which he writes, produces, and directs. He writes, produces, and directs Fury. He writes and directs Suicide Squad, kind of, ish.
Studio chopped that to pieces, as we talked about a couple weeks ago.
For an hour straight. Because it's hard for me to look at his work, what David Ayer has done, and all the stuff that I love from it, and say, oh, all of a sudden he's going to take a giant dump and I'm going to really not enjoy one of his projects. If he says they tore it up, I have to believe him. Like,
right.
The evidence right here in the same year making The Fast and Furious and Training Day, I have to believe David Ayer that Warner Brothers tore up his movie.
Yeah, and I totally do, because you can tell that like that was a studio production that totally, you know, you can tell. Like it's one of those movies that just like jumps immediately out at you that I feel like no director would have like looked at that and been like, all right, yeah, that's cool with me type of thing. So
I think we honestly would have to do like a separate podcast about Denzel's career. I don't think we can we can't do Denzel in depth here. You know, one of the greatest actors of our generation. I mean, he comes in hot into this movie, no doubt about it. Remember the Titans is right before it. John Q's right after.
John Q.
He got Game a few years before it. Like Crimson Tide. This is all within the same decade. Malcolm X within the same decade.
Glory.
It's just unbelievable, dude. It's absolutely unbelievable what he's able to accomplish. Denzel did win the Oscar, as you said, for this. He's done a little bit of theater. He's done a pinch of television, but that was long before he was a big shot. I don't know. What do you want to say? Is he Mount Rushmore for you? Is he, you know, obviously he's first ballot Hall of Famer, unanimous. I don't even know what's to be said, but when Denzel's in a movie, I go and see it. So,
yeah, absolutely. And I think his newest movie he's doing, he's doing Macbeth
Yep.
with Frances McDormand, directed by Joel Cohen, I think, for Apple TV Plus.
Mhm.
And I've never been the biggest Shakespeare guy, but I mean, you tell me Denzel and Frances McDormand are going to acting against one another, I'm in.
I do like Shakespeare actually a lot. So excited about that. I saw that was announced. It comes out in December, right?
I think so. They released like a small teaser of what it is. So not like a full on trailer, but you might be right.
Black and white film directed by Joel Cohen. Shakespeare, tragedy of Macbeth.
Mm-hmm.
It has a limited theatrical release.
Makes sense.
On Christmas by A24 Studio.
Right. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Which I thought was the case, and then it gets released onto Apple Plus on January 14th.
Right.
That's going to be massive.
Well, you knew that they had to do that just so they could get, because I mean that's got Oscar bait written all over it between the acting, between so they have to put it in theaters for even a limited release like that. So you knew that was coming.
Do you want to do the categories here?
Let's do it.
Best 137 seconds of the film. It's going to be really hard to top King Kong's speech.
I get that totally, and that's why
I'm open to diner scene. I'm open to poker scene. Which would be bizarre because it's no Denzel, but it's still really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where else I would say best 137 seconds. I have to go King Kong Ain't Got Shit on Me.
Mine is when they kill Roger. After they shoot him, and in that 2 minutes of where they're trying to break it all down and being like, okay, so here's how we're doing this. And after they shoot the one guy in the vest and one goes through, and he's like, let's get me an ambulance. And I was like, shut up. I'm trying to quarterback this thing. It's like, we got to make this believable. You want to go jail? You want to go home? Everything from top to bottom. And then and it ends with what we were talking about with Denzel threatening Ethan Hawke again, putting the gun on him. That's my favorite because it's ultimate tension. And then Ethan Hawke clocks Dr. Dre.
We will move on to best or your next Instagram caption segment. I think there's plenty to go with here. I just think it's so underrated. It's so people don't even hear it, but all that jelly and no toes for me. Yeah, that's my next. It's my next Instagram caption.
I mean, I don't even know what I would post with it, what picture I would post with it. But like what I was saying before, you're a long way from Starbucks, homie. That just jumps out at me so much. Like I'm saying, I have no idea what I would even post on Instagram that caption would fit for. But I just love that so much for some reason. It cracks me up.
It's incredible, bro. Across the board, there are so many quotes you could use in this movie. I don't know what you would post with it, but it's incredible. Last segment that we're gonna do is the NFT. You have to NFT something from the film. I really struggled on this one. So the only thing I could really come up and I feel like whenever I do this, it's a cop out, but it's like a GIF, right? If I wanted to NFT or mint to GIF, I don't know if I have the credit. My brother, he's in the car. I don't think I have that in me. I don't think I get that.
Yeah.
That's self-awareness 101 right there. Mm-hmm. So I'd probably have to go with a different one. So maybe it's just him going boom or him walking up it'd have to be a GIF. I couldn't think of anything else that I would NFT from this film, whether it's a piece of art or I don't know. I don't know what it would be.
I get it. Yeah, I know. I agree that I think it would have to be a GIF, and
could be King Kong. Could just totally be him flipping out. It could be him smiling as he's lighting up a cig. It could be boom at the diner table. Plenty. I
think him when he's when he picks up the cigarette at the end, and he's all bloody. And he's just my man, like that. And he's lighting up the cigarette. I think that's that is so primed to be sold for, and where 137 is a huge NFT site for all those unfamiliar. I won't pretend to begin to fully understand that world, but that is something that I feel like, would sell for so much money if you just have like ownership over that. Like you're the one that owns it. That works. That's incredible.
I can't believe this movie still holds up. I can't believe the performances still hold up. The acting's really, really good. The writing's incredible. Like, I think a lot of movies try and get that gritty feel where they're in tune with the streets, and it comes across as like really corny, really cheesy, not believable. And that's not the case at all with this movie. And it's
Right.
actually what makes the movie is like how real this movie fucking feels. And props to David Ayer. From my reading on this, he just poured his heart and soul into this project. David spent a lot of time in the military, had a brutal upbringing, and he spent a lot of time in LA, I believe. So hence why, whether it's End of Watch, Training Day, Fast and Furious, they're all set in LA, all
Right.
include a lot of diverse characters, which makes sense for a military figure to deal with all walks of life. And this movie just feels real. I don't know. If that's my one takeaway, it's Denzel's performance that you walk away from, and it's the realness and grittiness of this project. Connor, what's your big takeaway from Training Day 20 years later?
That, just like what you said, I mean, the cultural relevance from, like what we were talking about before with where the line is drawn in terms of police power, where like how far do they need to go to, solve these crimes, limit crime and corruption. And it also plays into a more increasingly relevant topic as we've gone on over the years, like the war on drugs. How effective is this going to be? Alonzo, Denzel's character, he's doing it. He does what he does, but at the end of the day, that machine is going to keep turning. He's gone, but he did nothing to really stop it. But even if Ethan Hawke goes and turns him in and he's outed and his team of corrupt cops is outed and arrested and stuff like that, and the three wise men are arrested, what's really going to change? It's an indictment on the system, and it's still as relevant then as it is now because it's something we continue to talk about. And, it's not going to, unless things really change, it's going to be as relevant as ever 20 years from now, The
people in power at the end of the day are the ones responsible here. Like, I think, that Wiseman scene shows that, Denzel's powerful and he's, a great narcotics system, like mover.
Mm-hmm.
But there's people above him that without their green lights, none of it happens anyway. So
right.
I think that Wiseman scene, Fuqua fought for it. Without that scene, you're placing the blame on Denzel.
Right.
In the moment, you include that 2-minute scene about them approving the warrant, it changes the blame. Yeah, this movie holds up incredibly well. The conversations about police brutality or the power of the police or to what extent they have, what they should do, what they go up against too, right? Like, I think it's easy to show, police are bad and do terrible things. I think this movie also shows the battles that they face, and that's the yin and yang of this movie, which is pretty killer. Dude, I fucking love this movie so much, bro.
So do I.
I do.
I'll watch it anytime it's like on, even if it's like on TNT. Like half the movie feels like it's being cut out because they gotta like censor the curse words and the violence and stuff like that. I'll still watch it. I don't care.
I don't think Warner Brothers would make a movie like this today. One, it's probably too spicy of a topic now. Mm-hmm. And two, they're not really like making quote unquote big budget like cop movies anymore. Like that's just not super common. And then the idea of having like a young, relatively unknown actor and Ethan Hawke starring it just wouldn't go down that way. So thankful that it came out at the time that it did, man. Connor, pleasure, my guy.
We did it. So much fun.
I'm excited for people that are still here, unbelievably. So I promise we will get better at these too, which is something I'm really excited about. Like, Connor, this is our number one. We had a great conversation about Training Day. Dude, I cannot wait to see what we're doing at movie 100 when we do this, bro.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Going up,
I'm
brother.
so pumped.
Going up.
Always.
Going up. All right, my guy. We'll talk later, brother.